Paul posed an interesting question. How do you create your own style, your own painting style? I think it's a subconscious thing. I don't think you can sort of manipulate, deliberately create a style in particular. I think it's like trying to change your personality. You are who you are. When it comes to style, personally I think it's a blend of all the artists that have influenced you, all the artists you've either watched on video or admired their paintings. And I think the more artists you watch, the more you'll take from each one, and each characteristic from each particular artist will generate a trait in your own work which will eventually blend into your own unique style. I've mentioned previously, I think my style developed from three main TV artists that I watched. There was Ron Ranson and his fast and loose technique. There was Frank Clark and his have some more fun style, which was developed for the absolute beginner, which is where I would recommend most people begin, because he really does show an easy way into watercolour painting. And then there was Bob Ross, who painted in oils. Maybe that the oils part, some different mediums as well, I think will help. The first two were watercolour artists, but Bob Ross was an oil painter, and so that oil painting style brought something different to the watercolour paintings that I was doing. I think if you watch a little bit of watercolour, a bit of oils, a bit of pastels, sketches, just a bit of everything, a bit of mixed media, acrylics, watch a bit of everyone, and the more you watch it and the more you practice, the more they'll all blend into your own sort of individual characteristic traits when you paint. But it won't happen overnight, and I don't think it's something you can manipulate. It will just evolve subconsciously. Not only the techniques that these other artists are using, but I think where I did it differently as well was I took the fast and loose mantra, and I took all of these different things that these other artists were doing, and I started painting fast. And I think painting fast, just 100 mile an hour thrashing the paint about, helps develop it differently as well. I can't paint slowly and methodically. I use a big brush and I just thrash it around as fast as I can, and I find, as I've said previously on many occasions, the quicker I paint, for me the better the paintings turn out. So it's about taking all those different traits from all these other artists, but also speeding it all up as well. That's how my style's developed. You might also see, say for instance, a pastel artist or an oil painter use a technique that you don't really see in watercolour, but then you try and adapt it to watercolour, and again that will evolve your style and make it different from everybody else's. It's like when I saw Bob Ross do his skies, he'd brush it in, he'd brush the paint in from either side of the he'd use a liquid white initially, and that's like the oil equivalent of wetting your paper first, so that all the oils blend into one another. And he was brushing in from either side, leaving an unpainted bit down the centre, and that was serving as the light. So I thought, well, I hadn't really seen anyone else do that in watercolour, so I thought, well, but why not? So I've used the same technique, brush it in from either side, leave a bit of white paper in the centre, and it creates this nice light effect. And it's just little things like that. You don't have to be, if you want to paint in watercolours, you don't necessarily have to be watching watercolour artists. You can watch any artist, and then you can adapt those techniques into what you're doing. And the more adaptations you make from other media techniques, the more unique your own style will be in watercolour or whatever medium you're using. So Paul, I wouldn't worry too much about trying to develop your style. Just watch as broad a selection of other artists that you can, and it will just happen automatically over time as well. Again, it's not going to happen overnight, it's just a long-term thing.